Hello guys, welcome back once again to another tutorial session of setting up your Windows for coding and website development. My name is Seth, and in this video we are going to learn about interfaces. Now, as website and software developers, we are going to make use of different types of interfaces. Now, in order to use them efficiently and also productively, we have to know the uses of interfaces and also its meaning. So without wasting much time, let's dive in. Okay, so now we are going to have a look at what an interface is, and also we are going to look at what a user interface is, and then also look at some types of interfaces that we have: GUI and then CLI. And also alongside these slides, we are going to have practical sessions on how to use these interfaces and also how they look like. Okay, so now what is an interface then? An interface is a medium, channel, boundary, or you can say a pathway through which two systems communicate with each other. Now, a user interface is the medium or channel through which users, which in this case is us, communicate with their devices or programs. We have many types of user interfaces, but the ones that we are going to have a look at in this video is the GUI and the CLI. Okay, so the GUI stands for Graphical User Interface, and the CLI also stands for Command Line Interface. Okay, what is GUI then? GUI means Graphical User Interface, and in the GUI, users communicate with devices and programs through graphical icons, buttons, animations, audio, and visual indicators. We are going to go through that in a jiffy. Okay, so some examples of graphical user interfaces are Microsoft Office Suite, which is the PowerPoint, Word, Outlook, a whole lot. You can mention them yourself. Okay, and then we also have the Microsoft Windows itself, which is an operating system, a graphical user interface operating system. We also have the Android, and we also have the website, which is the web user interface. It falls under the web user interface. So we are going to go through that in our subsequent videos. Okay, so now without wasting much time, let's go to our Windows screen and then have a practical feel of how the GUI looks like and also how it functions. Welcome to my Windows 10 desktop environment. Now, this is an example of a graphical user interface. Because of these cool icons we have here, which helps us to choose the program we want, and also because of these cool icons we have on our taskbar, which helps us to navigate between programs. And also we have these cool visual indicators, which also provides us with extra information about our operating system, like the language we are in and so on. Okay, so now we are going to do something very simple using the graphical user interface. We are going to create a folder on our desktop using the graphical user interface. Now, in order to create a folder on your desktop, you would have to right click on an empty space on your desktop. So right click and then choose new, and then on the pop-up dialog box you see we have folder here. Choose folder. Now you see this new folder pops up. We are not going to rename it now because of learning purposes. We are going to rename it in a jiffy. Okay, so press enter, and then you see it maintains the new folder name for our new created folder. Okay, so now let's try and rename our folder using the graphical user interface. Okay, so in order to rename your folder, you would have to right click on that same folder, choose rename right after the delete, so rename, and then it gives you the option to rename your folder. So in this case, we are going to give it the name Codetopia. Okay, so Codetopia, and then press enter on your keyboard. Now you see it gives the new name Quotopia to our new created folder. So we've learned how to create a new folder using the graphical user interface. In our next session, we are going to learn how to create this same folder using the command line interface. Okay guys, now let's have a look at the CLI. Now the CLI means command line interface, and in the CLI, users communicate with their devices and also execute commands or instructions by inputting sequence of text in a terminal. So you can execute an instruction using the command line interface by entering sequence of text in a terminal. So for example, if you want to rename a folder, you can do that using the graphical user interface, and also do the same thing using the command line interface. Now a terminal is a program which provides a text-based interface for typing commands. Text-based means that it only accepts text. There is nothing like visual indicators and also audio indicators like in the graphical user interface. Now some examples of CLI that we have the Windows PowerShell, we also have the Windows command prompt, which we are going to have a look at in our next session. Now we also have the Unix terminals, we also have the DOS and also the Linux terminals. Now in our next session, right after this slide, we are going to have a look at how to create a new folder, how to rename that same folder, and also how to delete that folder using the command line interface. See you very soon. Welcome back guys, once again to my Windows operating system. Now this is an example of a graphical user interface as we saw in our previous tutorial session. Now in this session, we are going to use the command line interface to create a folder called Quotopia, just as similar as this one. And we are going to rename that folder and also delete that folder using the command line interface. Now we created this folder using the graphical user interface, if you can remember. Now before we head towards creating it with the command line interface, let's first delete this folder using the graphical user interface. So in order to delete, you have to right click on the folder and then select delete right after the create shortcut. So you click on delete and then it gets rid of the folder for us. Now we are going to create that same folder, rename it, and also delete it using the command line interface. Now in order to use the command line interface, we have to use the terminal, and in this case we are going to use the command prompt. So you head over to your search box and then type cmd, or you can type the full name command prompt, and it gives you the command prompt terminal as you can see over here. So click on it, then you can see it launches the terminal for you. Okay, so now before we get into action, we are going to first learn about some important terminologies known as commands. Now commands are sequence of text which instructs the computer or your computer to perform a specific task. So in this terminal, we are going to make use of some Windows terminal commands like the cd, which is the current directory, or change directory, and also you are going to make use of the dir, which is the short form for directory, and also we are going to make use of the ren or ren, which is the short form for rename, and also we are going to make the directory using the mkdir, and also remove that directory using the rmdir. Okay, so now we want to create the Codetopia folder on the desktop. So first of all, we have to know the directory we are working in. So in order to check the directory you are in, you have to type CD. It can be either uppercase or lowercase, but we are going to use the lowercase, so you type CD. So sorry, the uppercase works fine. You can also use the lowercase CD, it also works fine. So this tells us that we are in the cerebral folder, whatever that means. So we are in the cerebral folder. This is my nickname, by the way. So we are in the cerebral folder, but we want to create the folder in the desktop directory. So we are not yet in the desktop directory, so we have to navigate to the desktop directory. But first of all, we have to list the directories in the cerebral folder to see if we can identify the desktop directory in there. So in order to list the directories in your current folder, you type dir and then enter. You see we have a list here, and as you can see, we have the desktop directory in here. Now in case you make a mistake and then move to another directory, let's say by mistake you move to the music directory, so let's change directory to the music, so cd and then music. You see we are in the music directory now. So if you want to move back to the cerebral directory, you have to type the change directory and then you put two dots in front of it, so 1 2 and then enter. You see it goes back to the cerebral folder. Okay, so now let's list the directories in this folder again, so dir, and then you see we have our list again. Okay, so now let's move to the desktop directory and then create the folder in there. So in order to move to the desktop directory, as I said, you have to type cd, which is the short form for change directory. Directory here means folder, so you type cd, which is change directory, and then you type the name of the folder you want to navigate to. So you want to navigate to the desktop. So now we are in the desktop. Now let's confirm whether we are in the desktop directory or not. So you type cd current directory to check the directory you are in. So you can see we are in the users directory, which contains the cerebral directory and also which contains the desktop directory. Okay, so now we are in the desktop directory. Now let's create our folder. So now the shortcut for creating the folder, or the command for creating your folder, is mkdir, which is the short form for make directory. So we want to name our folder Codetopia, which should be in caps lock. So we are going to type mkdir, which is short form for make directory, and then type Quotopia, like the previous one we did in the graphical user interface. We are going to name it Quotopia in caps lock or uppercase. So let's type Quotopia and then type or press enter. So now you see we have the Quotopia folder here. We have the Codetopia folder here. So you see it's amazing. You can do the same thing with the command line interface as you did in the graphical user interface. So now let's try and rename this folder using the command line interface. The short form for rename is REN in the terminal. So rename, and then you have to type the name of the previous name. Sorry, you have to type the previous name before the new name you want to use. So the current name we have now is Codetopia, but I want to give it another name known as maybe program. So REN, let's start REN, and then you type the name of the current folder, or you type your current name. So Codetopia, sorry, it should be in caps lock. So Codetopia, and then then you bring space. Don't forget the space. Then you type the new name you want to give to your folder. So let's say maybe program, and then enter. Now you see our name has changed from Codetopia to program. Now let's try and rename it from program to Quotopia. So rename REN and then program space then Quotopia, then enter. You see our name has changed again. So you see it's amazing, right? You can basically do the same thing using the command line interface, and that's what we are going to make use of as programmers or developers. Now let's start all over. So let's clear our screen. So the short form of clearing your screen, or the short command for clearing your screen, is CLS. It can be caps lock or it can be lowercase. So press enter and you see our screen has been cleared. Now let's do the same thing, but before that, let's delete this folder using the command line interface. So the short form for deleting is RM, which is remove. So remove directory. So RM, which is remove, and then directory, which is folder. So remove directory and then type the name of your folder. So Codetopia, and then enter. You see our folder is gone. So let's start again. Let's create our folder, rename it, and then delete the folder using the command line interface. So first of all, in order to make the folder or create the folder, you type mkdir and then you give it your name. So let's name it program. So program. Now you see our folder pops up on the desktop. Don't forget, we are in the desktop directory. We are working in the desktop directory, so any action or any instruction we give to the computer will be executed in the desktop directory, which is our desktop environment right here. So we've made the directory called program. Now let's rename it. So mkdir, let's rename it as maybe sorry, we are making, let's rename, sorry. So ren, it should be in lowercase. It can be caps locks, but I love working in lowercase. So ren, and then you type the current name, which is the program. So program. Okay, so what name do we want to give to our folder? What new name do we want to give to our folder? So let's say maybe coding, and then enter. You see our name has changed from program to coding. Crazy, right? So basically that's what we are going to be doing. We are going to be working a lot with the terminal as software and also website developers. Okay, so now let's delete the folder. Let's delete the folder. Okay, so in order to delete the folder, you have to type rm, which is remove, then the shortcut for directory, so dir, and then you type the name of the folder, so Codetopia. Okay, so you see it says the system cannot find the file specified. It means that the system, your computer, cannot find the name or the folder named Quotopia on your desktop. So we have to give it the right name. So you type remove directory, and then you see the name for our folder is coding, not Quotopia. So you type coding, which is in caps lock, so coding, and then enter, and then you see our folder is gone. So basically, as software and website developers, we are going to make good use of the terminal. We are going to be using the terminal in many cases. So see you in the next video. We are going to learn about something cool, and also remember, don't give up coding. See you in the next video.